we did know it was coming. Obviously, at the fuel protest that happened there early March. So again, there was discussions after that, and there was a package announced, there about 3 weeks ago. I suppose our concern was to make sure that this money would be available, that it would be paid out fairly quickly, and that the work that needs to be done again for food production, that people can get on with it. So look, it's a start. I mean, look, we're in a very volatile situation. I mean, it's changing up and down by the day. So this is some way to help in terms of that space. Again, it's based on your usage of 2025. That's your 12 months. So you get your receipts for what you use in 2035. You divide that then obviously by 12 and multiply it by 5. So that gives you the 5 month period basically, and that's what you get paid on. The money, the application is open, I think, at the moment. It's ending on Wednesday, 27th of May, 2026. To be eligible, you need to be an active farmer or contractor. I think there's extra criteria there for your contractor in terms of VAT register and that. But anyway, and I think there's a cap of 20 million per month. But I don't think we envisage that will go up. That there'll be receipts above that space, but it should work out roughly around 20 cents per litre or thereabouts. So I suppose in general terms, it's a help, but the fact that the situation is volatile, this could all change again in a very short period of time, but that's outside of our control. So I suppose basically we're welcoming it for now.
And the government, Stephen, as you know, has went to great lengths to convince the public that the measures introduced a number of weeks ago were not in response to the protests, but rather the crisis. Do you see this scheme as a response to the escalation of demonstrations and action of that nature on the streets, or was it on its way prior
Look,
to those?
we'll take the minister's word that obviously, but we felt at the time that they didn't give it the recognition it required, and we could understand the frustration, particularly among hauliers and contractors, because they saw that their income was going to get destroyed if we don't have contractors or farmers. Work can't get done because an ordinary farmer at the moment can't afford to buy the type of machinery that's required to get that work done now at the speed it gets done. So I mean, they've invested millions. It's important that the contractor gets the volume of work as well, because if farmers cut back on work, if they only cut half the amount of feed, that is a knock-on effect on them, because they base their payments, and in terms of maintaining their machinery, it's on the volume of acreage. So if only half it gets done, they won't be able to cover their costs as well. Look, we see this as a help. Certainly, it's a help. But it's basically back down to you know to get essential food production, and keep the rural economy going. Because the way it was looking there early April, it was very bleak in terms of the sheer costs. I mean, people are going to go broke, and if they go out of business, number one, where do we get the food? Secondly, I mean, where do we find that, we'll say, um, for the rural economy, it's about keeping the price of food down, and it's about trying to keep it as because uh, fuel costs are driving everything, and as it's driving everything gets more expensive, and the cost of trying to do business in rural Ireland, cost of doing business anywhere, I suppose, basically. So this is why we see this as an essential, basically, to try and keep that inflation level under control. So we see that very strongly as a function of government, and we're welcoming it at the moment.
A final question for you, Stephen, on this, and it might be a broad one, but how strong do you believe the social contract is between farmers, between those in agriculture, and the government at the moment? And has it been strengthened in any way by the fuel protests?
The few, I suppose. Look, um, there has been difficulties, but there's no point saying there hasn't been. We felt that there was a frostiness, for the want of a better word, between the agriculture sector, whether that was down to the Borbia protest, Mercosur, there was issues there. And we felt that we were being ignored and I mean, that's a word that's being used quite a lot at the moment. And the response, we met, a group of the local TDs. They did actually the Barack Obama, the plaza, the Banner Plaza opened. And on that day, we felt that there was no understanding of the level of the crisis that we found ourselves in. With the cost of fuel just absolutely going out of our control. And we know it's out of their control, but yet this is what this package is here to do, is to try and help to come some way of finding that middle ground in that space, if that makes sense. We feel that they need to listen a bit better to us, and hopefully, as things goes forward, we might be able to mend some of those bridges.